Good evening. Another unscheduled. How are you doing? Just thought I'd touch base because I can. So I haven't practiced anything together, pulled anything together, and I haven't took any notice of anything that's gone on this week. So I thought you guys, if you've been paying attention to what's been going on, might bring some subject matter up and we'll have a chat about it, and even maybe search if need be. So good evening and welcome. Mike says evening, Paul says evening, June says good evening all, and Slipknot says alright Sean, alright everyone. Good evening to you chaps. So if you've just come in, I've just said I've not prepped anything, so if you want anything you've got in mind that you've looked at this week and it's concerning you, let's have a look at it. Keep off the bug script of course, because it's pretty pointless, but any other groovy stuff we can have a look at. Nice day today. I don't know what it's been like for you guys. Yesterday was perfect. So we've got a bit of spring weather going on. That's got to be good. So I wonder, are the notifications? I was late tonight, unusually. Just a tad late. So anybody got anything we want to discuss? It's a massive delay on this, isn't it? It's a bit ridiculous, really. So, I can see now. So, I don't know whether you remember, but many moons ago, as part of Alive, I sort of breached the idea that with Biden being a bit incapacitated, that he could well be in the background bringing back the Obama. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but there's no reports whizzing around the old internet on just that subject. So let's wait and see. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Obama was pulling the strings in the background. Who knows? We did get into it. It did fit in with some kind of prophecy kind of stuff, if I remember rightly. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Obama came back. And that'd cause havoc, wouldn't it? On the left-right divide. Paul says, any thoughts on chemtrails? Well, it's interesting you said that because it sounds a little quiet. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, Gremlins again. I don't know why that moves. I really don't. Actually, it hasn't moved. How's that? Is that any better? I'll turn it up a little bit because I suppose the acoustics are different in this room than usual. Chemtrails. It's so obviously I pay attention to that. I always have. Years ago when it first really started pushing out, I used to catalogue them as I saw them from my window, and you could always see they were moving. You'd always put them in front of a weather front coming in. So in most cases it was coming in from the west, so you'd get them all in the front of that. But then if it were coming from the south, then they would do it over Manchester and then it would be coming up. So there's a big part of it to do with manipulating the weather. but then you've also got all the chemistry that's in it as well. And I've noticed in this last couple of weeks, they've been going crazy with it. And in all truth, I can't help but look at them and see a full-blown military attack, and people just don't get it. It's there, all over the sky, and it's a full-on attack, and nobody seems to bat an eyelid. So that's interesting, and could go well in sync with the video I put up on the old Facebook the other day. A guy going through the frequencies, what they learned, how they can affect particular parts of your thought patterns, your brain frequencies. He likened it to radio dial as your latest station, then it's noise, isn't it? Nothing going on, and then it'll tune in again. And so you could look at them as sweet spots. So you're moving the dial, and all of a sudden there is a line, because it's a balanced frequency, and it's open. And that they use this technology in that manner, and certain pulses, amounts of pulses, certain frequencies have different effects. It's an interesting video on the Facebook, and it's towards the top of the page as well, so I'd highly recommend a little gander at that, because he puts it together very well and traces the history of this technology as they've utilised it and then expanded it. And of course it's all a big secret, because the majority of the population are pretty clueless, because it's not on the TV, of course. So definitely going on. I don't like it at all. It's terrible that it's happening, and to see it, you know what it is, and most people are oblivious to it. Even if you point it out to them, it's as though they don't want to know. Look out for Charlie YouTube channel, talks about this. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of data to be had. I mean, the Americans were collecting data on all this in the 90s, so Morgellons went rife then. But there's a guy, he was from Canada, I think, just a guy in his garage, and he was going through the fact that the polymer that's been laced in foods, but especially all the stuff aimed at bodybuilders, so the protein drinks, laced with polymer, and that once it gets to a point where it's just too much, starts to come out your skin, and that's the cause of Morgellons. So I've noted that a certain, let's say, herbal outlet, because I have used it many years ago for a long time, obviously being careful what I did actually get, because as long as it were pure, I'd use it. But in the last 7 years, maybe more, they've been slowly putting polymer in every product. So you think you're buying healthy, but you're getting your fill of polymer. E551 on the old E numbers, or silicon dioxide if it give it the name straight. So those three terms are describing polymer. You use it as a thickener, so sometimes you will see thickener. Again, if it doesn't tell you what it is, assume that that thickener is silicon dioxide. So polymers is a major problem in that it hit America first, because of course America were gym mad way back in the 80s, whereas it took old Blighty quite a few years to crack on with that. But this is why it hit in the 90s for the Americans. All those have been on all the herbal stuff, all the proteins for the gym sessions, etc. We're pulling out this Morgellons, because at the first they were trying to tie it into these chemtrails, but it would appear it's got more to do with what you're consuming. So that's specifically the Morgellons that when you've got fibres coming out your skin. So that's polymer gone ballistic. So like Candida is an outbreak of that in America at the moment. Well, turpentine from the pine tree, not turpentine as in what you buy from a hardware store, but that made from the pine resin specifically. That annihilates Candida. So Americans want to get back to that, because that actually took root in America with the slave population who used that, and in most cases outlived the masters. And once the masters realised the secret of the old turpentine, it was classed as a poison because obviously they used it and didn't want anybody else using it. So that's where it actually comes from, as far as it being put into medication, which is what they used. Obviously it's classed as a poison today, so you know they don't want you using it. So I've shown you mine and I've used it. I don't use it all the time, but if I get that urge I will use it. And it's interesting because it just knows no barrier inside you, because it's a solvent, so it just washes through everything. So that's another interesting thing, that they definitely up in the game with that geoengineering, because that's what they call it. And it's beyond my comprehension that it doesn't get picked up by military intelligence, all this kind of stuff, as an attack. Well, it wouldn't, would it, if they're all part of the same force? But it's not good. But also, you know, many moons ago, again, I used to have the constant radar for all the planes, all the aircraft. And legally, you have to have a number, so that it can be, I forgot what they call it, a code sort of thing, so you can be seen. But none of these planes are in that, so they must be military. They're coming under military, which of course is secret, isn't it? So I know there's been a lot of stuff around to show that even aircraft carrying passengers, unbeknown to the passengers of course, have been putting out this stuff. But when I was watching them this last couple of weeks, there's probably about 4 or 5 planes up in the air, and they're circling around and doing the pattern that they have to do. You know, there's nobody being pulled around as passengers, is there, on that kind of flight path? No way. So the fact that they're not on the radar, a call sign, that's the term I'm looking for. Everything in the air has to have a call sign. But you could check all the time on that radar system, because it's live, and it does have a delay, but it's not a huge delay. You never saw, when they were out, they were never coming up. So they have to be military, because it's a legal requirement for that call sign. So yeah, it's a terrible thing, but it's going on, and people don't seem to register just what it is, and it shouldn't be left alone. Let's put it that way. It needs to be stopped. Hello, show men, women, and other entities. Okay. Council tax, that was in court recently, covered by the peacekeepers. Ah, now then, yes, I've heard about this. So the peacekeepers, so-called, running around diving into countries as soon as there's some kind of conflict, are actually a private company. And so, you know, you look for trafficking, you look for all that kind of stuff. You've got Red Cross, all these very well-known international charities. They're the first in. And that's where it appears to go on. Now, who knows what, where and when, but there's always been whistleblowers coming out over the years to say that that is exactly the kind of stuff that goes on. You know, and on the domestic front, you've got Barnardo's, you've got NSPCC. Again, you pay for them to do what you think they're doing, but is that what they're actually doing? I would doubt it, because there's nothing better that the priesthood likes, is that they set up the games and you pay for it. That's the way they work. So, peacekeepers, yeah. Now it is, you know, private. Everything is private. Have you noted? So that all of our domestic systems now, through the left, have pulled in all the powers to the state, the almighty state, and then it's been privatised. And that's what we've seen. Both sides of it, from Thatcher then to Blair. You've seen that intertwining of what they call left and right operating to the same end, which is monopoly. You know, the more they pulled into the state through Labour's beliefs that that's what it had to be, because of course back in its backdrop is communism, and in comes the capitalists and privatise it all and take it into private hands. It's clever stuff. So all these organisations, international, need to be looked at. What are they? You first just look at, well, okay, what are they dealing in, and then what opportunities would they have to actually apply their system and might to that agenda. And you know, it's there, and it's the elephant in the room in most cases, because naturally, all the networks that do that kind of stuff are embedded in those organisations. Perfect. Yeah, you know, like just like a lot of the old paedophile people, they'll be attracted to where children are, whether that's coaching, whether that's teaching, whatever. They're naturally attracted to that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but people never tend to look at it in that way because, of course, TV focuses it to individuals rather than where the ability to carry that out en masse can actually is going on. They always jump it on the little man when really it's a bit silly, because if you're really looking for the power of it and the networks to administer it and protect it, you're certainly not going to be looking at Joe next door, are you? It's then they're up there a little bit higher. JFK, RFK Jr.'s next. Yep, I saw that as well. Interesting. I don't really know much about him in truth. I don't know what his gig is. I don't know. You assume, don't you, because of the term Kennedy, that obviously he's operating in accordance to John. But I don't know. So I don't know much about him. So if he's a good guy, and you know he is, let us know, because I don't really know much about him. I've not paid much attention to American politics for quite some time. There's far too much going on here, in there. It's ridiculous. Mew says, evening all, evening to you. Untitled says, hello Sean and followers and friends. Slipknot, look out Charlie YouTube channel talks about this. And that was the chemtrails, right? Mine Racer says, chemtrails are full of aluminium and barium. Pilots of logbook when to spray and when not to. If you speak to local council, they will confirm that they are seeding the clouds doing experiments. Yeah, well, if you go with the auditors, what have we learned from their knowledge on the dronage? And that is, you can own the land and the buildings, but you don't own the airspace. But that's covered and governed by aviation laws, which of course comes back to the Home Secretary, by the way. And it's connected to what transport. So it's in that. I think they've pulled 3 in shipping, if I remember rightly. So we're looking at this the other week, because of course it has its own raft of rules, doesn't it? Aviation. So if we don't control it, even if you own the property and the land, as it were, in tenant, or at least, we have no control over what goes on in the airspace. Now, the Home Secretary is the man. So, successive Home Secretaries have allowed this. Why would they do that? It doesn't make sense, does it? If you're a bit aware of what's in these things. Because, yeah, aluminium and barium, there's a hell of a lot more in there as well. So, in America, what they found is that the forest fires kick off and they can't be put out because the trees are full of aluminium and barium. So once that sets alight, you're dealing with sort of metal fires. You ain't putting them out, pissing on it, are you? You know, it's not going to work. And then there's other ideas that they're sort of messing with the soil pH. There's that. You have these instances where just big flocks of birds fall to the sky. Have they lace one out and it's hit that flock and boom, they can't breathe. Down they go. There's all sorts of stuff, and there's even stuff in the seas with the whales and dolphins and such turning up dead, as though they've had their radars fried. So I heard that could be something to do with the submarines and their radar systems, that if they come close to these animals, then it can fry their sonar system. So there's definitely lots going on with the chemicals and, more importantly, frequencies. I mean, it's like I said, there we go, back on the old burner. I didn't mess around with it this week, cocked it up. I changed the number of my call centre so I couldn't send text. Anyway, I fixed it. So, but the fumble, you talk about fumble like for messages, it's ridiculous. You always press it in the wrong button, but you do get used to it. And for out there in the day, why do you need Google in your pocket? What's wrong with just having a phone in your pocket? We're not saying, oh, nobody can find you, and that's not why I've got it. It's just all this nonsense they're about to launch, so-called alert systems. I don't like anything I've looked at about it. As a contract, if you answer the text or an alert, just down to the fact that it installs software that then they can dance you around all over the show on alerts. But it's not new, is it? I mean, how long has it been in the radios in your cars, where it can just take over your whatever you're listening to and bring you some traffic alert or something like that? So they've embedded it in you slowly. But the fact that they want to put it on your phone, I don't like that. I think it's a bit odd. But developer options is what you do. You need to give yourself developer options. And so what I did is you go into settings and you search, put in the search, build. Okay, just let me have a look here, so I think I have it written down so I get it right. So you go to settings, hang on a minute. Where are we? Right, so you go to settings, this is Android phones by the way, and you put in the search bar at the top, build, and it brings up data about your phone. So you'll see either DEV or developer options written, because even though it's Androids, they're different on certain phones, so there's slightly differences. But what you're looking for then is the build number. So you'll have a list of, you'll have the code for the phone, all these different codes, but the build number, you tap it 7 times, boom, 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 maybe more sometimes, so we just keep doing it, and that switches on developer options or developer permissions, and that opens your phone up in a whole new way, and it is your legal right to have those permissions, so you're not doing anything wrong. Now when the best advice I can give you after that is just go through everything again on your phone, because you will be amazed what permissions are going on way back in the background that you'd never ever even have known of, never mind access. And just slowly go through it, and if you see something going on that you wouldn't want going on, get it off. But there's a whole plethora within that of emergency alerts permissions that you need to switch off, because you can switch it off quickly if you just go to settings, notifications, and then in notifications go to advanced settings, and that will switch off emergency alerts, but it's not switching off what's going on in the background, which is why you need developer permissions. And you're not doing anything wrong, as I said, it's your phone, and if you can access developer options, they're yours, it's your device. So that's what I've done with one phone. I was quite into it, but I did this before during the old bug script when they were trying to, what were they threatening to do, or the update that would come in, add this platform in for all this nonsense. Well, I've also learned that system that was set up in that script is also a part of this system, so that if you do respond to it, you've actually contracted and potentially merged the system that they've built there and everything you did with it into this new one. They're in your phone and away they go. You're in the contract, and as yet it's not fully understood just what that means. So my guess is better to be safe than sorry and block it before they crack on, and then we can see what other people's experiences are of it before you decide whether you want it on or not. So you're not doing anything nonsensical, you're not doing anything illegal. This is perfectly legal because it's just another level of access that you have to your device, if you know what you're doing. Now there are some other bits of it as well. So what were it? Let me think. Oh, so if you put in the search bar special, this is once you've got developer options, up come an absolute shed load more things to play with. Again, you're just basically you're giving yourself deeper access to the computer that is your telephone. So the word special as well in the search, I can't remember exactly what page you're on when you put that in, but it is on my face ache. So again, these are just things you can do to enhance your control of the phone. Forget your GPS and all that, you're not going to get the big boys out, it's just not going to happen. But you can turn off assume permissions. Now of course if you're going to turn it off for this, you'll have to turn all your Googles off, which of course is going to be a nightmare for them that are stuck to their phone. So, you know, it's not without a sacrifice. So you've got to make a choice. Do you want to get this alert system in your phone, you contracted, whatever that might mean, because we don't know what it means, or not? You know, let's have a look. This fellow asked his local council, white lines in the sky, who asked Childcare Westminster and government, reply, nothing to see here. So, okay, Home Secretary, he is the one in charge of the aviation, right? So that's where you'd have to hit with FOIs or letters making, because let's just say 100,000 people work together and, you know, just sent letters of your will to the Home Secretary in relation to you not being happy with what's going on in the sky. You know, they'd have to talk about it in Parliament. Because we don't talk about it. We don't know anything about it other than what you can find yourself on the internet. You do occasionally get, there's some good videos that I've seen where they do admit it. But the geoengineering is as far as they go. They don't enter at all into anything that could be dangerous about it. It's just, oh, we're playing with the weather. Yeah, you know, and that's pretty much all you get. But we know they're doing a lot more with it. And of course, if they're spreading these pathogens, okay, they blame China, but, you know, let's be quite honest about it. I mean, I know that they've made a big deal about all that, but in all truth, it doesn't make sense that from Wuhan, the entire world, no, it doesn't make sense. So there's more, that's a diversion in my opinion, but throwing it out at us from these systems at night when you're asleep would definitely be the choice of war. If you were in a war, you wouldn't be doing it blatantly in the daytime, or at least you'd be doing it, but the real dangerous stuff you wouldn't. You'd be doing that at night because you wouldn't want anybody reacting, would you? If people started falling down on the street like they did in Wuhan, people would be like, oh, what's going on? So that'd be my take, if that's what they're actually using them for, amongst many other things. But in the main, it's a great delivery system for weapons, isn't it? And if Vlad the Impaler is correct, and there were 43 biolabs all over the Ukraine, let's hope they didn't move them first. That would be my wish, because whatever's happened, you know, they've caused a lot of trouble on the back of it, and it's costing everybody a fortune. Quartz crystal reacts every second on why used in a watch. Quartz crystal, yeah, I use quartz. Watches, yes. Don't wear a watch, I can't, because black. Unless it's gold, it's silver. But don't wear, I could wear the Swatch watches when they came out, and that's about it. Agmaniac says evening all, good evening. Al1 says evening all. LFX, thumbs up. Agmaniac, barium and aluminium is Baal. Ooh. Okay. Turpentine enema. Oof. No, you can only use 3 drops of it. You can't. No, I don't think I'll be wanting to do that. Could be quite dangerous. The way I take it is sugar. I did first start off with sugar lumps, but my God, is it hard to get them down. And then by the time you've got them down, your gob's full of turpentine. Ideally, you just put it on the sugar and on a spoon and then a big glass of water. Whap that in and just swill it all down. Job done. The trouble is with it, you're burping it. It makes you burp it back, which is, I don't like it. So I used to do it before I went to bed. And that way, by the time you get up, there's no sign of it. But burping it up isn't pleasant, because at first I was doing it in the day. So that's how I do it. And I might only do it maybe 3 or 4 times in maybe a week and a half. And then that's it. I don't want to do it again. So, and my judge on it is my pee. So I have a coffee in the morning at Caustic. And obviously when you pee after that, it's full of coffee, froth and all sorts, which you expect. So then when I'm drinking water for the rest of the day, I expect it to pretty much clear up. Now if it doesn't, if it's still a bit cloudy is the one I judge on that, and it stays like that for a week, then I'll think, okay, maybe there's a bit of yeast going on somewhere, let's crack on and get it out. And that's how I approach that kind of thing, rather than thinking you have to do it all the time, you know what I mean? I think your body tells you what you need to do and when you need to do it. You don't actually have to have everything jotted down your body will say, right, you need this. Like with pregnant women, they get cravings. When the body needs something, it'll put a picture in their head of what they want, what it needs, which is why it can be quite bizarre concoctions. But all your body's saying to you is, this is what I need, go get it. So yeah, whatever you use, herbal or anything, it's not something you should be wanting to do all the time. Obama moving to Kenya, is he? Okay. Well, I have seen something about him, talking about him coming back, and we did speak about that many moons ago, that potentially what they were bringing in through Biden going tapped, because it was pretty clear towards, maybe a few months in, that Kamala went up to a job for deputy, or to become president, when Biden were classed as tapped. So we did talk about it, that there could be a plan to bring back the old bombshell there. Large amounts of aluminium and barium in the human body creates the receptors of the brain to function slower. The same as chloride in toothpaste, fluoride. Yep, that's exactly what fluoride does. Now I would use, because you can get charcoal toothpaste with no fluoride, so I used to use that. But I've been using bicarbonate soda with my electric toothbrush for yonks. And you know what? You know how sometimes you get a sore mouth, usually because you're eating something, but your mouth would get rather sore, your gums, and you put your toothpaste on and it would appear to make it better. Well, since I started using the sodium, which is now a few years, and I started it, I've told you about it on the earlier stuff, that I started to do that. Your mouth is so clean, it's unbelievable, and I never get a sore mouth anymore. It's quite ingenious. But I've always made sure I clean my tongue as well, and not everybody does that. But when I'm cleaning my teeth, I clean my tongue to death, so that's clean as well. So, but bicarbonate, so if you just don't want to full stop have fluoride and you don't know what to do, because it's not cheap, that fluoride free stuff, so you tend to use less. But if you just want to stop using fluoride straight away, just get yourself a tub of bicarbonate soda and just dab your toothbrush in it. You don't need tons of it, and just off you go. Electric toothbrush with it is even better. The problem with my teeth is the tops of them are all brown, because I ground them to death in the 90s while they were asleep, I think. So my teeth are actually not in bad order. They've been that gap in the centre has got huge because, of course, I pulled wrong tooth there, and I pulled 3. I should have really only pulled 2. So that didn't help, and that gap's just got bigger. So but my teeth are actually in good order apart from the colour on the top of them, which is pretty shit. But anyway, I wouldn't have changed a thing. Andrew says, "Evening, everyone." Good evening, Andrew. Ice baths also decalcifies the brain. Well, I think if you just stop doing what it is that's doing the damage is enough for your body to then start to get rid of what it's done. Remember, your body's a filter. It's constantly filtering shit out and taking what it wants. The cleverness of the old juice wizards is, of course, they can insert certain things that affect and stop the filtering. And there you have the monster that is the big one. So that's what their speciality is. They can play like they can with these frequencies. You know, they only have to tap in at the right frequency, at your right state, and they can alter your state. And I'd say that's definitely what's been going on since 2009, because the difference between setting it off in 2009 and 2020, clearly they've done something because the population went for it. They didn't before. So, and what's expanded in that time? Well, it went from 3G to 4G to 5 to 6 to 7 to whatever they're at. Didn't it? And these phones are just, it's like, they're so sophisticated now. There's a huge difference from 2009 just in the tech. So I'd say that's probably where they're gaining their advantage. On person. Well, it doesn't matter whether you're on person in man, does it? We're all breathing that shit in. So it doesn't matter. And I've said this to many a guy who in the game thinks they're big and good because that's the career. I say, yeah, well, you're still breathing it all in, aren't you? You're still eating the shit. What can I say to that? Because they are. Even though they think that they're in and they're free. Oh, it's not going to happen to me, young son. But yeah, you're drinking the shit of water. You might be filtering it, but it's doing sweet affair. You know? And you're getting sprayed left, right and centre with all the garbage. So, are you any better off? And are you any better off if you're a particular religion? Are you getting protection specifically if you've done a deal with a certain book? No, because you're all reading the same shit. We're all reading the same stuff. It's just our characters are different and which program we've had, isn't it? So, you know, this is the obfuscation of it. It's that the attack is coming upon everybody. And they're now manipulating, because it serves them well, what has been as ways and means for societies to conjoin are now being played by this system, because people are not actually looking at the fact that it doesn't matter who you are, you're breathing the same shit in. You're eating the same shit. The water has got the same shit in it. It's that easy. That where your offices, you know, they're all working on what? You know? What better way to pull things into offices than air conditioning? You're not getting away from it, no matter your position, no matter what. Nothing. It's not happening. It's the way it is. So it's always, you know, people, if they could see that, then you'd be looking at the right direction, I'd say. Instead of still fixing these pretty nonsense. I mean, come on, we've all advanced somewhat now. We're in 2023. Those systems that people still hang on to, they've not really served man as a whole very well, have they? I don't know. Is the enemy to be found within those narratives? Or is it just a bubble that they're all in and they just keep swimming in this bubble and chasing this same enemy when you're not going, oh, wait a minute, what's going on there then? Why are they putting poison? Why would you put poisons in food if you're not attacking somebody? Why would you force juice them through terror tactics. So it's coercion, it's contract void in real world, but in La La Land, it's game on. BY Music says, evening all, good evening Paul. Tree says, David Yates on YouTube does videos every day about the chemtrails and has written many books. Hope everyone watches and shares. So that's David Yates. I've never seen him, to be honest, Tree. My mate says, Ronald 6, Dion de 6, Santos 6, Obama is April Fool. Okay. Well, his bird has a big cock, let's put it that way. Treen says, simple way to explain the right-left paradigm is to use a coin. Most people will choose heads or tails, then I ask them who owns the coin. Then they get it, of course, and the crown controls the edge, doesn't it? All one says, RFK Jr. is a lawyer and seems to take court actions in relation to children's health. He runs the Children's Health Defence. I take you back to what we were just talking about earlier. You know, these charities are not what people believe. The money that's involved in them, none of it, very, very little of it goes, let's say, to where it's supposed to go. The fat cat salary is huge. It's, you know, all the subcontractors these systems use to formulate the machine that they are. It's all going into the same pot, friends of friends of friends, societies and societies. So each time they form one of these charities, it's just a huge con to take money off you. And of course you're appeasing your conscience because you believe, well, it's good. Not really, are you? So this is going way back, when I used to run businesses, and obviously you run it like a business, you were constantly writing stuff, forming great blocks, grids and all sorts of, and projecting and all that nonsense. And I've completely forgot what I was going to say. What do you think? What prompted that? Oh yeah. So you get calls of charities all the time. They're always, once they got you on Yellow Pages business, they were calling you up all the time. So I'd listen to them. And if I didn't like it, I'd tell them straight away, no, sorry, I wasn't something I'm interested in. But if it sounded like, you know, they were angels kind of thing, I'd listen. And I'd listen carefully, and I'd say, well, that sounds absolutely superb. Now, would you be able to send me your accounts as soon as possible? And they'd be like, what? Yeah, well, obviously, if I'm going to support your charity, I'd need to know what you're doing with all the cash. Oh, well, it's not something we do that. Oh, well, sorry, I really can't help you then. Well, then they stop ringing you. They stop bothering you. Because the last thing they're going to do is show you where your money's not going, are they? Otherwise, it's game over. They're not earning anymore. But then you've always got the volunteers at the bottom, haven't you? They're the ones doing it for free. I mean, it's like charity shops now. You go in there, people are putting all the good quality stuff in there. And the prices of these things now are as if they were a retail shop selling you brand new produce. It's quite ridiculous that people are still giving them stuff for them to make a massive profit. Because again, you know, when you do find out data about these charities, and of course we're not going to name one particular, but sometimes it's less than 2%. A lot of them times they put into bank accounts, just holding accounts, and just building and building and building. And nothing gets done with it apart from servicing the actual system that the network needs to do whatever it is it's doing. I mean, of course, when the Red Cross go in, first thing they're doing, the only interest they have is vaccinating everybody. And in 2009, a school local to me, Peel Park Primary, because my lad was there, decided to hold a drill, which was to see the parents' reaction when they got a text message to say they weren't releasing their offspring at the end of school because there'd been an accident. So I got into that. It was quite ridiculous what they were actually doing. So what was I saying again? I forgot what I was saying. Oh. So when they did that, so that was the school. No, it's gone. It's a trespass charge. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? If they've wrapped it all up in aviation law, yeah, plus the fact that none of these aeroplanes appear to have any call sign, which is illegal, right? Then there's something within the aviation laws that isn't controlled in a certain part of whatever, and that's got to be military. It's got to be. Can't be anything else. You know, I look at these people and I look up at these planes and I think they're Babylons. You know what I mean? That's what they are. Whoever they are, they hate. They hate everything that you stand for, that they're spraying above. You couldn't do that if you were saying your sound, could you? You've got to be. There's got to be a fair bit of hatred going on in there for you to carry out them kind of things. The three candidates for president are Biden, Trump, and Santos. Well, hang on a minute. Who prophesied that? I can't remember. If Trump gets in, it doesn't last long. What are you going to make of that at all? So he may very well. I mean, they've done a good job, haven't they, of putting America on a left-right stand. Have they not? As the right now undermines everything this left has pumped out as real, i.e. transgender, all that malarkey. It's been undermined with such ease. You can only see it as a game, the play, because it needs the right to satisfy the protocols given by Albert Pike for the Third World War, to unleash the political Zionists and the Islamists and the nihilists, yeah, the atheists, which were formed in the Soviet Union. That's what the Soviet Union was forming, a nation of atheism. And we see that as a physical form in communism. So how the Jesuits can claim to be operating for anything other than communism is beyond me. Where are we? The weapon of mass destruction was created by Saddam Hussein scientists, paid for by the Bush administration. Saddam then refused to hand it over, and then refused to deal in dollars. I've heard various ideas of what, but let's put it this way. I mean, Saddam Hussein was a puppet of the Committee 300. He may even have had a seat on the table. If so, he probably wasn't murdered. And that if it was presented that he was going against it, that was just part of the script. To completely change everything in Iraq, because that's what that were about, changing the whole face of what Iraq had been into something new. And you've got to remember this, as the mothership had said, that the yellow race are going to try to split the world into two sides. She says they fail, but the auger that's left from the war isn't good. So whatever that may be, but yeah. I'm not so sure. That weren't Saddam Hussein that we saw a video being killed. without a doubt. And he was very big in with the bushes all the time. So they don't. It's for public consumption, isn't it? If they seem to be killed off, doesn't mean they are. It just means they're no longer on the stage. That's how they play. It's the same with the entertainment industry. Not all people that are claimed to have died have died. They've had enough. They want out. It's the only contract on offer. You can't have somebody that's pulled in a massive following of people who's then influencing them people to go away, educate yourself a little bit, or actually start to understand what it is they know about what the industry was about, and then find some balls and start talking about it. That's the only deal on the table. If you get to a certain level of fame, it's the only way out. You've got to kill the personality in its absolute, and with it then any influence that intelligence entity had. So you've got to be careful with all this death stuff. It's a game. It's a great big game, and what they certainly did in Iraq with nick all its artifacts. Now where they ended up, I don't know. Some say Smithsonian because that seems to be where everything goes. But I think it's a free for all. They're all getting it. And what are they doing with it? Are they hiding it for a reason? Are they after it for its power to reconnect them to the Sumerian gods? I don't know. But they've definitely, that's a done deal. They've done it. DNA bomb, which has been tweaked over the years. The concept is to paralyse a nation for easy takeovers by making certain DNA to become ill. Well, I saw something today that says with the graphene you've got 8 years, that's it. And that's not too far off what people were saying at the beginning. So, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. You see, I didn't take part. I no longer take any notice. Because it's not in my mind. I didn't absorb it then. And I'm not going to absorb it again, ever. So it's not part of my gig. And whereas before that, I always felt it were a big part of my path to try and shake as many people as possible to waking up. No longer, that doesn't apply anymore, that's gone. Now that I can see the reality of it, and that's a complete waste of time, and because most people don't want to see it, so don't waste your time. Focus on people of like mind now, just people that are already looking for answers, seeking whatever it is they're seeking, and just sort of reach out to them, be there for them. That's the kind of thing now. So it's completely changed my whole format. Is this bullshit for me personally? It's for the better because for 20 years, well, not more than 20 years. So I'm coming up to 30 years now this year when I actually consciously said, yeah, okay, I'm gonna enter this path, not knowing what the hell it were, of course. And then for 7 years that was the sort of initiator, but then not joining it and exposing what I knew about it and continuing to do so for then another 8 years. But without the internet, I had typed it up and I would hand deliver it. I mean, some of these things I put out were that thick, they were 500 pages, some of them, and delivered. So everybody knew what I was doing, what I was saying. And then I got on the internet. So you could say for a good 20 years, I was really trying my best to help people see what it were. And that caused a lot of problems, because people don't want to know. And, but when you're on that mission, you're on that mission. And this has changed that for me. I don't feel I have that. I don't feel now it's my right, really, to do that to people. Let them be. And everybody to their own kind of thing. Because it's a mess, isn't it? And everybody's fixed and stuck in where they're fixed and stuck in. Still a lot of people that haven't played the game, But they're still looking, aren't they? They still haven't found any answers yet. They've managed to not infect themselves with all that nonsense, but we've still got major problems facing us, haven't we? It's not like there's some kind of end to our problems. Okay, hang on a minute. So I've got a message. I was talking about this court case in Westminster involving a group of people called the Peacemakers. Okay, I'm talking about the peacekeepers. So the global peacekeepers. Sorry. Okay, so I've misunderstood that. So I think it's been outed this week that the actual international force of peacekeepers are actually a private company. So that might get interesting. So you're talking about something different. Okay, no problem. Yeah. It's a trespass charge. Yeah, we said that well. You see, if you get on the auditor stuff, they're pretty clear and show you that the Aviation Authority makes it clear. You don't own the airspace. Well, now if you get esoteric, ooze of the air, that's Lucifer. Innit? That's Lucifer's domain. He's of the earth. Also, if you get into his lore, he spoke of capturing mankind through electricity. So, you might say, well, okay, we are addicted to electricity. We are. But ultimately, is that control coming in, i.e. through these frequencies? And why the aviation laws. You see, I've never actually looked at the aviation laws, in all truth. So I don't know whether there's any out there of pilots that know of it, but I don't know what the laws of the aviation are. So what are they dealing with when you're in that realm? That's interesting. But remember this, it's the Home Secretary. So if you're concerned about the trails, that's where you'd go. So actually, thinking about it, I know a couple of paragliders. It might be worth asking them what they encounter when they're up there if these guys are spraying. Because I don't know anybody that's ever spoke about that. But these guys that are on the paragliders must be by far the better option for learning if there is actually a serious physical effect when they're spraying it, when you're up there. Because obviously the time, 40 minutes I think has been recorded that when they spray for it to fall to the ground, 40 minutes. But then you've also got there's winds going everywhere. So it's going to be hit and miss, isn't it? Some parts will get tons of it, and other parts will probably get none of it. Yeah. What air dye are you using? I don't dye my hair. So all that happens with my hair now is the sun will get on it and it'll bleach it. So that's what the sun does to my hair. And everybody goes, have you dyed your hair? And I go, no. And they go, we don't believe you. And I go, well, I don't give a shit. So I don't dye my hair at all. I used to do when I was stupid, way back in the day, and a rock star. But no, I don't do that. And I haven't done that for donkey's years. But the sun bleaches it. But there's no dye on it at all. It's bad light actually, but I have just had it buzzed off, so there's not that much on it at the minute. The weapon of mass destruction. Oh, I've done that. Keep eye out for pine trees as pollen at end. Oh yeah. There's a geezer I know who dabbles in that stuff. I can't remember who it is, but he sends me data. Yeah, what's it called? It's the thing got ended, but apparently it's pretty good for a lot of things. But you can get it online as well. Where are we? 90s rave scene, grinding teeth. Yeah, I know, definitely, yeah. And it took all enamel off the tops and underside of my teeth. Yeah, anyway. LFX, yup, bicarbs, a hint of mint. Well, you could experiment and make concoctions if you wished, definitely. But it makes... because it's salt basically. But obviously it's not big massive crystals, but it makes your mouth so clean. And also, I don't think I've had any throat infections at all since, oh no, I did that Christmas, but that was something else. I don't know what that was. But yeah, it's definitely so clean for your mouth, but also it cleans your teeth. And if you're obsessed with teeth, then maybe whitening them every few months, because if you're drinking tea and all that, it does put a sheen on them. But honestly, what'll it be now? 2000 It's probably about maybe 3 years that I've been using bicarbonate soda every day, and the mouth freshness is it's solid. So I would say personally it's something to try. But I'm 3 years on, and there's no other detriment to any parts of my teeth at all. No, it's not took me enamel off or any such nonsense, which you've got a lot of people were saying it were going to do. But it hasn't. It hasn't. So I don't know. Me tap a silver birch tree is rising now. Silver birch. What does that give you? Because it's specific pine tree turpentine that I'm talking about. Judicial review for back to 60 for women pensions. So, you don't want to be getting a pension, do you? You want to be cashing in the trust because it's matured. Yeah, that's what you need to be looking at. Forget this, oh yeah, give me a pension, give me a smithering of what the trust is worth, please, please, and then you can keep telling me what to do. No, that's the point, another point to come forward and a bit of reversion going on, and you want to be looking to take command of the trust. Now, look, you know, so many guys out there that are passing around with this stuff. You're playing in guardian shit. I mean, you know, you're saying you're this, you don't want to be paid, blah, blah, blah. You're under the Supreme Court. It's dishing out that position to you, and it's telling you what you can and can't do. That isn't taking control of your estate, is it? So if anybody's out there pushing it and saying, this is it guys, this is the be all and end all, it's not. It's not. And if you're over 30, is it 31 years from your national insurance number being gone, you can't do that either. But you don't want to be doing that guardianship. You're under the Supreme Court. No, you don't want to be doing that, so that's my advice. Anybody that's pushing that, keep away. It's not going to serve you. Bicarbs, yeah, done that. Judicial, I never ever give to charity. 12% of profits goes to the cause. Well, if you found a charity that gives 12%, you found as far as it goes, a not bad operation. But even 12%, it's nothing, is it? It's nothing. Lex says, I get my water from a local spring. Oh, yeah. You see, yeah, definitely. I mean, I do Evian, and then when I do drink brews or I have it pass, it's Evian in a pan. It's just delicious. I'm not keen on the tannin stuff in tea, because I love a tea with honey. But it makes my teeth go shit. So I don't do tea often. But a mate of mine, he were an homeless guy, and he was camping out. In fact, if you're from Moorhead, he was called John Walsh, if you remember him. So he'd been living rough for years and loved it. So he was camping out up on the Coppets, and I just ended up walking through his camp. So we had a chill wag, and he said, do you want a brew? And I'm thinking, where the fuck's he getting water from? I said, well, where are you getting water from? He said, oh, I'll show you. So he goes up. So where one lodge comes out of an overflow into another, he was getting the water from there. Anyway, boiled it up. Do you know what? It was the most delicious cup of tea I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely unreal. And that's because the water still had its chi. It still had its prana. It hadn't had the life sucked out of it, which is what happens when you stick that chlorine in it. It kills the prana, the life in it. And you don't even get that from Evian. So there's even a massive difference again if you can get it at a spring, without a doubt. My concern, of course, always is, how the hell do you protect that spring so that nobody poisons the blighter? So, because you're back to, I mean, if you think about it, you've got to think a bit back, going back to old stuff, because that's how it's going to start to get, isn't it? Like a young mate of one of my sons took his works van onto B&Q car park at weekend. Went in to get some gear, come out, they drilled these fucking locks and nicked his tools on B&Q car park. And apparently that's the new fad over there. It's like, it's getting bad, isn't it? Whereas that, you know, you could assume you were going to be exceptionally unlucky if somebody robbed anything off you. It certainly isn't the case today, is it? It certainly isn't. News being naughty. Husky. Hello Husky. Are you aware of opening a company in your own name? What do you mean? Oh, you mean like, oh, yeah. Well, it is a sort of, it's a mask. It is a mask, it has a function, which is why they've all been doing limited company stuff. And it's a method. But it's not something I'd be interested in. Just the same as I'm looking at that. How do you get reversion properly? So that you're on diplomatic kind of system rather than down there as peon, as they call it. I'm not interested in the guardianship either. I'm not going down that path. It's not something I'm seeking. And I haven't found the answer. I believe I'm close, but there's something missing. And gone are the days when I'm just, oh, that's a good idea, off I went with it. Yeah, no. And we're not doing that anymore. That's ancient history. Shawnee Boy ain't doing nothing until he thinks and sees he's got everything covered. Then I'll back it. But right now, we're not there. There's something missing. Just something. I'm close. I can see it. I could smell it and I can touch it. It's not just there. So I'm not going to do it just yet. But we're working on it. Very hard on it, indeed. Maybe you can cover the trust which you reclaim. Well, Chris Hauser was pertinent when he said, in reality, you want to be going and say, I'll see the hidden ledger and the open ledger, and thank you very much. But there's more to it. You see, last week, I mean, I wasn't going to do a live last week, and but I had a few. You see, and it's not by studying the Bible that sort of came to the forefront. It's that when you start to see what has gone on in the temples of the Knights Hospitallers with Mummy and Midwife, the two Marys, right? This is where that picture's formed. Now, remember, I stated clearly, we're talking about a mimic here. Mother and midwife, right? Under the docks. They're docking something. Yeah, but it's the two Marys, mother and midwife, that makes you start to, in my opinion, see another side to what's going on here, and not. So nobody's poo-pooing the accepted. We're not talking about that. I'm talking specifically about the fact that there's a mimic system called the world that mimics the original. And that starting to unplug it in this manner Because, as I said, it wasn't from looking at the Bible, but it's from fully starting to really see what game is going on in that temple of the Knights Hospitaller. Mother and midwife. So, consider that. Just absorb that, because it's interesting. And then, disciple. Just look at the etymology of that word and just absorb what it is and see what you think. See what you feel, rather than allowing yourself to edit. Because we're not talking about the esoteric side of it, as in what they call the spiritual. We're looking at the mimic, solidified in the physical or person. Eternal. It's an eternal thing that something else controls, because we don't claim it back. So if you're looking for the Whore of Babylon, is it Rome or the mimic of what Rome was? And has it been in for quite a few centuries? Or at least they've been laying down the platform for it. And here we are today. And David Hicks, as we looked at the other week, he is essential. If you want to get a grip about what it is you're doing wrong, what it is about these guys out there that are full of shit but taking your money, you need to listen to what he's telling you about law. It's not difficult to grasp. He's an expert teacher at it. He presents it exceptionally well. You would serve yourself well to get a grip of what he's saying, because then you'll understand the trickery, right? And it's important that you get it. You're not going to be communicating in anything other than the correct manner. And that statutory declaration, or the solemn declaration, as it is really called, the way that's set up, image, and the way it's presented, is the way you want to be using it, but in your own manner, how you write. But those are so important. So many people with stat decks in the past didn't have an image. It's just pointless. It's meaningless. It's not coming in at the level that you think is the jurisdiction. So take that on board. It's important. Use that as what needs to be included. Whatever else you put in there is entirely up to you. But again, less is more. They don't want story time, Jack and Ori. Points, facts, pertinent. Bang. So think about these things. But David Hicks, as we brought forward the other week, is important that you grasp his data. And you don't have to watch every single one of his videos. If you watched up to 9, is enough. Is enough for you to see what you need to see. You buy your name as limited company. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And as I said, it does give you a shield, but it isn't something that I'd pursue or do. I'm not telling you what you should do, but I'm just saying it's not something that I would do. Unless, well, no, it just isn't. Doesn't mean you can't play in that game, but that you have to get dominion. Not guardianship. You might as well be a free man. You know, somebody's licensing you. You're in the game. You're not there to nothing. Are you? Nothing. You're not there to nothing. And if I am correct, that the mimic of the gospel story, then you don't want to be making claims about being such and such a this and such a that in that arena either. Because if it's the case, you're just making a claim to further your entrapment on that thing it is you're trying to command. So that's another such an angle to look at that kind of stuff. The security alert is an upgrade from the COVID alerts. IBM, who run the sensors in every country. For Lockheed Martin did the 2011 one there, mind racing. Of plans for the upcoming CBDC currencies. It's still a minefield, that, isn't it, really? Even the experts are not experts because they haven't got a clue what they're doing. They don't know. See, I mean, I've followed quite a few of these guys to try and get a picture of how they work, what they're looking for, the lingo. But you can see that these guys, all of them, in most cases, are just following a process. They're following a system rather than necessarily on the fly, on instinct. Or they are a part of a bigger spider, hedge funds kind of stuff, Goldman Sachs, all that kind of malarkey, you know. But most of them seem to be following other people's systems a lot. And you can see that that's probably why a lot of them today are a bit in shock. They don't have a clue what's going on any more than anybody else does. Yeah, so and I don't understand it fully. It's not something I would ever say to be an expert at, let's be honest, but I can't say I can understand what exactly is going down, really. So, under new management. Well, George Soros, was he a member of the Golden Dawn? So that's Lucy's Trust, or Lucifer Trust as it was. That's Huxley's, isn't it? Again, prime programmer, that Aldous Huxley and his mad bird wife. Teens and toddlers. I mean, when we looked at that stuff that the UN's pumping out, I didn't mention, but it's basically an expanded teens and toddlers agenda that Huxley's wife, what's she called? Laura Huxley, was pushing in the primary schools, hugging old people. Now, why would you want to bring old people into a school and make little children hug them? Yeah, so it's just the Huxleys. Where do I find David Hicks? No, I can't. Let me try again. Sign into chat. Sign into bloody what? I'm actually signed in. I don't get it. So there must be somehow to sign in. I did try before. It didn't work, so I can't put it up. How can I do it? I'll put it under this video. I'll put you. The link's up to the other one we did not long ago, but I will put David's channel under this again. And if you watch up to the first 9, which is what I watched, and then obviously got diverted, it's enough for you to get a good grip on what reality is. So the territory, rather than what's being shoved up there. LFX Stonewalled, more like. If you do manage to get hold of your original birth certificate, then you post that with the documents that you can claim your bond. Well, it's and what we said, it's ID or discharge. And what's everybody doing with it? They're on ID. So you're subject to, you're liable to, you're the trustee. You don't want to, that position isn't how it's supposed to be. But we missed the boat at 21. We didn't open the key to the door because they didn't give it us. They encouraged us instead to sign up for a national insurance number. After we've been proclaiming all day, every day in school. Yeah, And mum and dad have to obey the state because they were trapped in it through their parents not knowing. Because they're the trustees in the first trust, they have to ensure that you get an education, get this, and all the raft of nonsense that comes when you're on ID of it and the ID. And of course, because of the magic the two Marys are doing in the Knights Hospitallers Temple, it's a child is born. Not a boy or a girl, as is on usually the original, but it becomes a child, a ward of the state, and of course you parents, not mother and father. But yet mother signs it in at first as mother. It's clever, and mums don't. When mum starts to realise this, you're going to be quite horrified. And I've said this before, if you're having a child, when you get to hospital, do not let them cut the umbilical cord. A third of that baby's blood is in the placenta. You need it to drain back into the child, into the offspring, before you cut the cord. You'll have a perfectly healthy offspring. And then if you go one further and don't give the juice, as I didn't with any of mine, you're going to be in for a much easier time in relation to not needing the temples of the Knights Hospitallers throughout their entire offspring, childhood. I don't like using that word, but I mean, it's words that we used to describe. But unless they have an accident, hurt themselves, that's the only time they want to be going in them temples, not because there's something going on inside. So if you don't want to cut that cord until that blood has gone back into the baby. So, where do I find info on endorsing filling out birth live doc to return to Treasury? Well, why are you returning it? You just send it as the discharge instrument, or copy of it. You've said David Hicks there, Mind Racer. You've written it. You've actually written his name. That's his name. See, if I open this other Brett, hang on. Mind Racer, Untitled, are you there? Can you put David's channel URL up, please, for everybody? Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, if I open the Opera browser, it's not gonna. It'll crash. Computer won't like it. Computer will say no. You need to start with the first video. You do, but if you get to 9, you've learnt what you need to. Rest is just super expanded grasp on it. Paul Sefton, are you talking about David Nightingale Hicks? No. Husky says, where do I find info on endorsing? Oh, that was you. LFX, number 206, anyone? Heard of that? N206. Oh, that's got something. Is that something to do with the temples? It's acronym, says Husky. Treasury.gov.uk under the bond section. Husky, Mind Racer, let me check out that. Okay. Need to be creators. Yes, indeed. Not copiers. Unless it's good stuff and then you copy a bit, but still go on to create what you're going to do with it. Don't know, Mind Racer, the guy Sean mentioned regarding law. So I think Untitled will be able to put that up for us. Yeah, he's good as David. Grammar is acronyms. It says public notice cause has got the gigs on. Ho ho ho. LFX Billy Freeman on the land. American searches on him. They're coming up negative. Found in 2019. He's quite happy going into the place of business to get paid or compensated. Very good, very good. Living claim form N206. Now, why would you fill out a form when you've got a solemn declaration? Have you not been paying attention? Why do you want you're not going? Well, you don't want to be in their jurisdiction, do you? So, living claim form. As soon as I hear the word form, it's like, okay. Box 17 on birth certificate, you are aware of it. Pray tell, sir. Tell us all about it. We're all ears. Oh yeah, there's a massive delay on this, isn't there? Yeah, tell us all about it, the old China. We're all intrigued. See, I don't have a birth certificate. And I've presented what I have on a video at the bottom of the YouTube channel. It's called Live Birth Record, I think. Entry of birth. I don't know. I can't even remember, it's that long ago. But it gets a lot. It needs filling out for registration. Well, claim from N206. Well indeed. Mother, midwife. Two Marys. Think he was bumped off. Who? Billy Freeman on the land? Why would they do that? Then that box gets filled in a approval case. Am I drinking? I don't do drinking. It's disgusting stuff. Making you recognised as living in the legal system. And God says, 2 eyeballs and a pair of lips. I still don't understand what that is. You are crackers. Yep. Right. Well, I haven't had else to say. Unless you've got any more questions. I got it confirmed from GRO a few days ago. Okay. So what happens then? Okay. So let's say you've sent off your Form N206. What are you expecting to happen? Got you, Sean. The form's got boxes. Don't the start date too. As long as it's got your image on it, that's good. Not the living part, just the upper lower case. It says Husky. Oh well. Well, what do you expect to happen, Husky? Come on. What is it in your mind's eye that you think you're going to be doing or achieving with that? John M. Clint Richardson is the man. Has extensive knowledge about the system. Search for Strawman story. Clint Richardson, yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. I used to love listening to Clint. He didn't take no shit, but he did get him in the end. I didn't say for N206. Am I getting mixed up? Oh well. Image of what, Lord? You ugly mug, lad. But you don't want it to look like it's come out of Vogue. Yeah, you're the flesh and blood ID. Here you go, I'm gobbing it. It's me. Can you see me? What are you talking about? Image of what though? There you go. You're out of the child box. Box 2 is the name of child. You need to mature to man. Boy, box 17. It needs filling. Likeness similar to. Well there, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you for another week. Hopefully next week, I think we're back in business and I should have something prepped. And we can crack on with investigating the unknown and seeing what we come up with. Why not, indeed. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining me. Thanks, mods. And I have only this to say. Till the next time.
electronic engineering.